Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. Today, we'll talk about how companies can move from paper-based to electronic permit-to-work system, and how e-permit-to-work can give control and gain full visibility of all your permit-to-work activities across the workplace. So before we begin, let me just introduce my team. So my name is Liza. I'm a business development specialist for ESG and Blue Kango. I work alongside with Richard, developing opportunities and implementing digital solutions to our client partners in Asia and abroad. So today I have with me Richard and Haslam. So guys, can you please introduce yourselves?
Hello everyone, my name is Rich. I work for ESC as Business Development Lead, and I've been working helping companies comply with environmental regulations, health and safety regulations for about 8 years now, and that's in Singapore and also in the UK.
Hello, good afternoon everybody. My name is Haslam. I'm the Senior EHS Consultant for ESC, with 12 years in regional EHS management and quality management in multinational companies.
Okay, thank you for that introduction, guys. So just a quick walkthrough on how our webinar session will be. Okay, so Rich, can you go back to the previous slide? Okay, so today we'll talk about the current state of the permit to work process and give you an overview of workplace safety injuries. We'll also have comparison between traditional permit to work versus electronic permit to work system, and also discuss about the challenges from paper-based systems. And we're going to give you some examples and benefits of e-permit to work implementation process, and at the last part we'll have a Q&A portion to address some of your concerns. So without further ado, I'll hand over the mic now to my colleague Haslam.
Thank you, Liza. So this is an overview of the first quarter incidents in Singapore for 2020. Well, as we know, fatal rate declined in the past 16 years from 4.9 per 100,000 workers in 2004 to 1.2 per 100,000 workers in 2018. Well, in line with WSH 2028, we aim to reduce from 2018 3-year average of 1.4 per 100,000 workers to below 1.0 per 100,000 within the next 10 years. Well, as we can see, for Q1 2020, fall from height is the top cause of fatal injuries. And slip, trip, and falls are still the top causes of major injuries. Whereas we are talking about the risk from fall from height, we are talking about permit to work systems now, where we have different permit to work systems like work at height, logout, tagout, heavy lifting, confined space, hot work, and so on. So now I'm going to talk about permit to work system workflow. Traditionally, our workflow will start from applicant, for example, subcontractors, internal staff, departments, and then it will be followed by the assessor. For example, work at height assessor, hot work assessor. Once the assessor approves, then the approver will approve the work permit. Usually, it's the manager on duty, or the EHS manager, or departmental manager. So whether it's approved or not, it will go to the next process. So once it's approved, and after the work has been completed, we will need to sign off the work permit system. But if not, then the permit system will be revoked, for example, or rejected. The next thing I'm going to talk about is common challenges in paper system, or we call it as hard copies. Okay, loss of paperwork. For example, if you have hundreds of hard copies per day or per week, you place it on your desk, You tend to forget about the hard copy, got blown away by wind, got lost, the cleaner took it away, and staff are not available to sign on it. We will face this kind of situation from time to time. For printed form, we may end up with multiple pages. For example, when margins are not set properly, and then you have multiple pages. We can, from 1 pages, it can be up to 10 pages when the margins are not set properly. Next is, if handwritings are not clear, sometimes we just scribble through the points or the comments that needs to be made. At times we use the improper pen, the ink smudges, pencil marks are gone. The cost of reprinting, where some permits are costly for any changes. There are costs of printing involved when there are changes to regulatory requirements or internal procedures. The next point is difficult and time consuming during audits. So sometimes we misplace our permit to work, completed permit to work. We misfile them in our ring folders. And of course, at times looking for a specific topic might be difficult while doing it hard copy. Not easy visibility. How many times are we able to keep track on hundreds of permits when we are doing it normally? Usually we use Excel as a master list, especially prioritizing the urgent ones. There's no easy mechanism to check for permits that are not signed off. Similar to the above point, but getting hold of contractors for full permit closure signed off sometimes is difficult. Without proper signing off will affect audit trails, for example, or in fact during incidents investigations. Last but not least, if there are any accidents, manual PTWs are easily manipulated by printing a new one and signed off by staff or any other parties. This will have an effect on investigations, of course. So I'll hand over to Richard.
Yes, thank you for that, Aslan. I think you've set the scene really well there. So what we're going to do now, everyone, is we're just going to do a quick poll to get an idea of who's using electronic permit to work at the moment and who's still using the paper-based system. So what I'll do is I'll launch a poll and it'll come up on your screen if you could just answer the question for us, and then I'll share the results with everybody. Just give me 1 second. Right, you should see that poll on there. I'll give you another 20 seconds. We've got about 40% voted now. Let's go 10 more seconds almost there. Okay. Right, I'll share the results now with everyone. I don't think it will be much of a surprise, but I'll share them over. Right, I think you can see those results. So what we've got there is 63% of respondents are still using a paper-based system. 25% are using Excel spreadsheet-based system, and we've got 13% using digital. And this is what we're seeing actually when we visit our clients, and also as we're doing our consultancy, that most people are still using the paper-based systems. And what I'm going to do now is just sort of introduce some of the benefits of taking on an electronic permit to work system, and how you can really improve some of your processes by doing so. And it's good that we've got so many people who might be interested in that, because you're already using paper-based or spreadsheets. So what I'll do now is I'm just going to show you a video of what it looks like to apply for a permit on a phone or a device. So I'll just start this video. Just bear with me. Right, so what we've got here is we're applying for the permit on a phone, and you can see we've got pre-configured fields there with company and also with work location, and you can have the start date, the end date. Also, you could have a duration of the permit. So depending on your process in your company, you can set certain durations. Then we're going through just a standard checklist we've got here on one of our systems. And you can see it's very easy to use the buttons there. And actually, we find a lot of the people on the construction sites, they much prefer to use this electronic system than trying to find their pen. And it can be outside, maybe it's getting wet. Another benefit of the electronic system is you can actually attach all the files you need to the same record, and you can do that from the platform or on the device itself. And then once we've attached our files, we're just getting down there into the legal aspect of the form, so we can do electronic signature. And once we send that off to the next person in the stage, so the approver from this one, it will create a timestamp, which is then a legal record, and it can't be gone back into and tampered with. So it's a very secure system. Right, so I'll just summarize from that. Ooh, there we go. Right, so the benefits of electronic permit to work. The easiest way to describe these is to split the administrative process for permit to work into 3 sections. So what we're going to look at is the application, so that's the physical application endorsement of the permit. Then we're looking at the tracking and status of the permit. And finally, we're looking at reporting and statistics. And in each aspect of that administrative process, you can reap different benefits and a different amount of efficiencies and productivity. So first, we're going to look at the physical application. Right, so one of the main benefits of using an electronic permit to work is you can approve permits on the move, or you can apply even for permits on the move with your phone or your tablet. Second to that is it's just quicker. So once you put through the application, it will be a trigger on the next person in the approval process will receive a trigger, and then they can action that immediately wherever they are, depending on the process in your particular construction site or factory. Another thing is you can actually invite your subcontractors to join in the platform and actually complete part of the application remotely before coming to the site. So that can save some time. I know a lot of sites, sometimes they're rushing in the mornings to get the permits approved for that day's work. You can actually sort of speed that process up a little bit by letting contractors apply before they even come. As we saw on the video there, you can actually have some of the fields already auto-completed, so that saves some time. And the level of that, or the amount of that, depends on your process. And importantly, you can pre-program the workflow into the electronic permit to work system. So what I mean by this is, for example, if somebody is applying for a permit for a particular area of the site, and any permit that's applied for at that area of the site needs to go to a certain supervisor for approval, then you can automate that in a permit to work system. Whereas on a paper-based system, sometimes the knowledge is lost and they might be looking around, who's this person who needs to sign this off? It becomes a more administrative task, whereas it can be automated in electronic permit to work. And as we saw again in the video, you can actually attach all the documents you need to your electronic record. So you don't need to go around printing it out, carrying all these documents. Right, what I'm going to do now is show you a quick video of what the alert looks like as it comes through, and also the records table. Right, so you can see the top right hand corner there, there's actually an alert that's come through. And this is what you'd receive if you was the next person in the chain who needs to action something with the permit. So I'll just pause here. You can see with electronic permit to work, you can record everything in a really easy to see table. And one of the key aspects is this table will be updated upon inputs into the system. So you don't need to make any ad hoc changes, and no one needs to monitor this table. It will update by itself as people change the status of the permits. And you can see we've got the company, the work location, the start date, end date there. So the red ones means it's expired, so work shouldn't be happening anymore on that particular area for that permit. So we need to do something about that. That's a safety improvement compared to the paper-based system. And then you've got all of the statuses there. It's really easy to see what's happening across your site. It's just compared to a spreadsheet or paper-based system, I think it's very much an improvement. I'll just go on to the next. What we're going to do now is drill down into the record and just show you what an output from an electronic system can look like. So this is the record itself, and we can actually make a PDF output of all of the information that's included in the permit. So for example, if you need to retrieve a record, or you need to submit this record to an inspecting sort of body, or God forbid something happens on the site and you need to go back and look and make sure you've got the correct records in place. With an electronic system, you're not flipping through all the files, stressing, looking for it. It's there all captured there inside the system. It's one of the main benefits. Right, next we'll just summarize what the tracking and the status, basically the table there. So all permit to work and their statuses are automatically updated and visible in the table, so you don't need to do any ad hoc changes. You get automatic reminders of expired permits. You can easily identify where the permit's stuck. So there might be a particular person in the approval chain who's just not actioning their area of the permit, and you can easily then identify where the permit is because it automatically changes the status as it goes through. You can look at the locations of where the work's going to take place, and it's much easier if you've got a table like that to make sure there's no interfering work. Right, next we're looking at the reporting aspect of permit to work. So I'll just quickly show you this video. So as the data's captured in the system, anything that's in there, you can actually create a statistic. So on here, we've got the percentage of where the permit to work is currently at, or the work location, you could have that, or company who's been applying for the permits. Basically, anything that's captured in the system, you can then use and create a table or a pie chart, or any sort of higher level, more complex stats you can also create, because when the data is inputted, it's captured, and then you can use it. So it gives you some new ideas and some new information you can use to make things more productive. And again, it's easy to send reports to managers and things because it's all automated and updated by itself. So just to summarize on that, it's real time. So as I make a change in the system, it updates on the statistics. It's very easy to see, visible on the dashboard without any ad hoc configuration. And data can be collected and retrieved automatically. So you can actually set up automatic data downloads and sending of reports to certain people in the organization, which I know is something that's very common use of these kind of platforms. Right, so if you add all of those benefits together, then you're looking at productivity gains, and these are gains in time. And if you're getting gains in time, then potentially you're getting gains in dollars and cents. So this table here, on the left-hand side, you can see we've still got these three sections, which is the permit to work application, the tracking, and the reporting. And then what we're looking is we're comparing between paper-based and electronic permit to work. And what we did here was we actually used one of our clients' own data. We looked at pre and post implementation of electronic permit to work, and we saw what the improvements were. So for the physical application of the process, we're looking at 65 minutes, or our client was looking at 65 minutes for paper-based, the time taken for that aspect of the permit to work. And we're looking at 40 minutes for electronic permit to work. Then with the tracking of it, so this means reviewing it, keeping an eye on what's happening with all of the statuses, knowing what's going on your site. They spend 15 minutes on each permit on that, and with ours, we're spending 5 minutes. Then it comes down to reporting. So on our clients, they were spending about 10 minutes sort of making reports, and this is just spread over all of the permits for the week, but it works out about 10 minutes. And for the e-permit to work, we're looking about 0 minutes. But I think what I'll do now is hand you over to Haslam. He's got some sort of real life experience of dealing with the reporting of these kind of things in his previous job.
Yeah, just to add on about the generation of statistics, we are flipping folders, hard to find the completed permit to work systems. The next step is to create statistics that may take longer depending on the individual IT literacy. Yeah, hand over back to you, Richard.
Yeah, I think, Hazem's right, is that actually probably takes longer than 10 minutes, but with our client, this is the figure we got from them. So if we then look at that per permit, we're looking at 1.5 hours per permit, and we're looking at 45 minutes for electronic permit to work for the same permit. So paper-based 1.5, 45 minutes if you're looking at that in an electronic permit to work. This particular client was actually doing 100 permits per week. So if you add up all the time spent, it's 150 hours. With electronic, 75 hours, so we've got 50% productivity gain there. Then if you look at this over the year, so we're just spreading it out over the 52 weeks, we're looking at almost 4,000 hours of productivity gain there. So you're gaining 4,000 hours of time, which is, I think, very significant. Especially if you look at, if we assume that 44 hours per week is a standard work week, maybe not in Singapore, but it's pretty much the standard. We're using 44 hours as a standard week. That works out as full-time equivalent of 1.7 employees hours. So this very significant amount of savings can be made by implementing electronic permit to work. And this is an example that we've got from one of our clients. Right, so I'll just hand you over now to Liza, who's going to talk about what some of the challenges of implementing a digital system.
Thank you, Richard, for that wonderful explanation. So moving forward now, our question now is how are we going to implement the e-permit to work or a digital solution? Okay, so I'm going to share with you some tips that we actually learned from our experiences with some of our clients. So first of all, your organization need to have a clear vision of your digital strategy. You have to set a goal and a plan to execute them. So this means that you have to discuss it with your EHS department or stakeholders. What are the specific process you need to digitize? Which elements of the management system are needed to be integrated? Is it just permit to work, or are there any other things to be integrated? Also, you need to know the number of sites involved and the people who need to access the system, and also your budget. So as part of the strategy also, organizations can actually choose a cynical person within the company to execute and roll out the idea to everyone. So technically, you need to find a person that will drive this transition. And it means that this person is someone who can handle employee pushbacks, who knows digital trends and can sell the idea of digital transformation to everybody else. Okay, so point number two, you have to select solutions in the market. So there are many vendors out there, and you have to request for a free trial. So there are many vendors who offer this marketing technique as well to offer free trials. And I believe in Singapore we have government grants to support on the implementation as well. But for today's webinar, we're not going to touch much on the business grants, and you can just go to the website and find out more about that. And moving forward, for the third point, you have to justify based on system capabilities. So having to implement any system, it means that you need to pay a cost. And before you implement any software, you should check its internal system capabilities versus the price that you're paying for, and whether or not it fits the budget. So there are many available solutions in the market, but we have to identify that the good system should be flexible. So I'll just identify here some of the features that a system should have, or ideally should have. So first up, you have to be able to adapt to the standard process. So that means in terms of workflow, approval or authorization process, documentation, monitoring, and management of the permit life cycle. And second, it needs to be able to provide trends and data analysis in order to collect data-driven statistics for improvement, communication, and all this should lead to a better decision making. Third is to include all your stakeholders in the process. So simply because you guys have contractors and they're also part of the process. So when you do a permit to work, you deal with different contractors, and to be able to include your third-party stakeholders, it should be a plus point for you. And also this allows you to monitor and manage them in a single platform without having to invest or buying another system. So fourth point, we have the platform security and confidentiality. So you have to look for a reliable provider and a secured platform that will assure that your data is safely stored and is never shared outside your organization. So in terms of hosting infrastructure or for a cloud-based solutions, the question you should ask is who the hosting provider is and what's the information security or infrastructure of that provider like. So last, we have user friendliness. So I think these are like basic for some of the software companies. So you have like real-time alerts to give you notifications, customization features, the capability to do an e-signature, and you have on-the-go features. So for e-permit to work, you should be able to provide those real-time alerts and customization of the workflows and its processes. And for mobile features, you should be able to access the software basically from anywhere with or without the internet. And also to access your phone camera, GPS functions. So basically this system is just a system that is less complicated, easy to use, and will give you access anytime, anywhere. Okay, so to okay, just give a conclusion. Okay, so just to conclude, with the pandemic situation now, I'm sure that most of you have seen that more companies are actually relying on the importance of technology and how it is helping everyone to perform their daily tasks. So companies should be able to should look at the move to going digital as a long-term investment in order to stay competitive. So this trend will continue to increase as more and more companies are adapting technology solutions as part of the strategy. And as we all know, risk will always exist, and we cannot just expect a health and safety officer to have everything under complete control, because hazardous works and environments sometimes they lead to accidents. But with the help of a software to improve your safety management, such as the e-permit to work, risk can be mitigated and site safety can be improved.
Okay, we come to the questions and answers. So if you've got any questions, you can actually go to the dashboard there. On the right-hand side, you've got something called chat. And actually, you can write some questions in there if you want, and we will try and answer them right now. So anyone watching out there, if you want to put your questions in, just go to the chat, and as they come up, we'll go through and we'll try and answer the questions for you. Sorry, Liza. I'll just I'll give a minute if you want to ask a question. Just wait a few coming. There's a couple of questions coming through.
Okay, I think there's one question already. So the question is, can the e-permit to work be implemented with multiple approving parties?
Shall I take that one?
Yep, sure.
Yes, so with these types of systems, usually you can customize the workflow. So you can add as many people into the approval process as you like. And just to give you an example, some clients might have 7 or 8 people who are involved in the signing off process. Some, our standard package, actually, we just have 3 in there as a standard. So it's all they're usually customizable for these types of systems. Actually, we've got a question through for you here, Liza. It says, all tips and suggestions are appreciated. So maybe if you could give some tips about sort of taking on these digital systems. I know you covered that a little bit, but what would be your, your top tip for bringing on this kind of system into the workplace?
I think the first stage that the organization need to consider is to go out there, do some window shopping across the market, and do some trials. Talk to these vendors that you wish to approach, and you have to study as well the specifications. And yep. So I guess the first point is to actually conduct a demonstration, a demo or a trial with these vendors. There are many solutions out there, so it's just a matter of the organization choosing the right solution for them, and it all depends on their requirements. So I think there's also another question now.
Liza, sorry, can I add on to what you
yeah,
have
sure.
explained just now? When we get a system, whether it can integrate with your current system also. Usually electronic data interface integration with your current systems will be great also. Yeah, try to look out for that.
Okay, thank you, Haslam. So I think we have another question now from Mani. Okay, so his question is, do you sell outside Singapore?
Yes.
The answer yes is yes.
Yep. The software is actually French software, but you take it on internationally. So, yep, that's not a problem. I think we got another one here. Is the e-permit to work customizable? Yes. So we actually, for us, we have a standard one which we put together with our EHS experts such as Haslam. But actually, some companies have their own special checklists that they want to use or the processes, and we can completely customize to whatever the needs of the company is.
Yeah, not forgetting to change the logo to your company's logo.
All right. Another question we have here is that, will the e-permit to work without any internet, and can it be done via smartphone?
Yep. So with this particular software, there's something called the offline mode, and what that means is you can actually you can still complete your applications even in an area which is not serviced by the internet. So when you go back into an area that's serviced by the internet, it will automatically upload the information you've inputted into the platform. So yeah, it can still be functioning in a non-internet zone. You can still use it to input data.
Thank you, Richard. We have another one from Pamela. She's asking whether the e-permit to work can be incorporated to a company's existing software or EHS system.
Yes. So maybe the two answers to this is with this software, there's something called API, and that means in a basic way, I'm not the sort of technical IT guy, but it means that you can let two systems speak to each other. So if we had a look at your existing system, there would be a way that we can help them talk to each other and share the information, and that in that way you could incorporate some of the records that you've already got together. And one way some companies use this is maybe using the HR system they've got, and they want to then include all of the people who are qualified to sign off permits in a particular area of the permit to work. You can make those two systems talk together, and then it link basically the HR system to the permit to work system. And then what was the other answer on that? The question again was, can they speak together? Right, or we can actually create an EHS management system, which includes permit to work as one of the modules. So we also have capability to create many different modules, not just permit to work.
Okay, thank you, Richard, for answering that. I think we have another one from Manny. Is e-PTW customizable? The answer is yes. So I believe different organizations, you all have different process and workflow. So the idea for the e-permit to work is to actually not just boost the productivity, but as we mentioned, is to improve your site safety. So system should be able to should manage to do a customized e-permit to work. So the answer to your question is yes.
We got one more question here is, how long will the e-permit to work be stored in the system? Can the e-permit to work be downloaded, or is it on auto download? Well, as you saw there about the downloading, yeah, you can download a PDF version of it. You can download an Excel version of it if you wanted, or if you want to just use it within the system, it's stored there as long as you need it, because it's stored on the cloud. It's not going anywhere. And say if you did, cancel your subscription, you can download all the data you want and take it back with you. But it's stored on the data center, Microsoft Azure, and it's not going anywhere. Yep. I think that's it for questions, right? We got any?
Okay, let's just check if there are any more questions.
Oh, I've got a question. Can an e-permit to work be a 7-day block and assessor signs off daily? So this is a question, that actually comes up quite a bit, and it is something we've implemented for our clients in the past. And what we're talking about here is a daily checklist, I believe. I think that's what the person's asking about. And yeah, so you can do your permit, and then you can do a daily checklist and go back into the system and edit it. So you're getting an inspection on each day recorded, and that even goes onto the PDF output as well. So you've got a whole record of all those daily inspections, just to make sure everything is covered over.
Okay, I think we have one more. Can the e-permit to work define our own unique serial number?
Yes. Yeah, you can create a number for each time you create a new record, and that can be defined by yourself, whatever your system is.
Yeah, and I think this is where document control also takes in. I think Haslam can help us elaborate more on that, on his point of view.
Yeah, for document control, usually to satisfy the ISO 9001 requirements on how you keep your records. Yeah, the answer is yes. You can define internally on your permit to work numbers, and then you can apply it on the e-permit to work system. Not an issue at all. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Haslam, for answering that. So I think we only have about 5 minutes left. So if you have any more question or further questions to us after this meeting, we actually have a survey form that you can answer. And if you have further questions regarding the e-permit to work system, you just fill it out, and we'll get back to you. And yep. Okay, so before we conclude this meeting, just a quick overview about us. So we're actually, we have this software called Blue Can Go. We've been in the market for about 17 years, and we're actually serving different industries. So the logos that you see down there, they're just some of the selected clients that we serve globally. So currently we have about 1.3 million users who's using this software daily. And about ESE, or EnviroSolutions and consulting. So we're actually a leading environment safety and risk consultancy in Asia. We have been advising companies and government bodies for almost 20 years now. And some of the services we do are EHS and risk management, site remediation, sustainability, and air quality and noise management as well. And we are also a member of the Inigen Environmental Alliance that provide multinational organizations with consistent and high quality environment, health, and safety solutions. I think you can find out more about us on our website. Okay, so I guess that is about it. Perhaps Richard, you can conclude our webinar session for today.
Yes, thanks a lot for everyone out there listening. I think we've made a good case there for electronic permit to work, and we hope that we've sort of shown you how the electronic permit to work might be able to give you some productivity gains, and also, in the most important thing, it can make your sites more safe. So thanks a lot to Haslam and Liza for joining us as well.
Okay, thank you. And I think we have one more question. I think it's a follow-up question. For those who have follow-up questions, we'll have a copy of this question and we'll just get back to you via email. Yep. So thank you guys. I guess that concludes our webinar session. So thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you next time on our session.
Thank you.
Thank you.